Welcome to episode 3 of RÍview, a series where I watch and analyse Irish films. This week I'm looking at Ming as Ainm, starring Daniel Wu and Frank Kelly. This is another Irish language film. It was suggested to me by The Irish Guy Vlogs. I don't have any more Gaelic films on my list, so if you can think of one I should review, leave the name of it down in the comments below. The plot of this film follows Ming, a man in China who seems dissatisfied with his life working at a supermarket. He closes his eyes and spins a globe, picking out Ireland at random. Ming then begins reading up on Ireland and starts learning the Irish language. At first he struggles with the pronunciation, but eventually Ming becomes rather fluent. This is done over the course of 2 scenes, so it seems like a very quick transition. However, we later find out that it took Ming 6 months to learn Irish. Ming packs his bags and gets on a plane to Ireland, reading the Gaelic on the signs and buses to get around after he arrives. However, when Ming starts speaking Irish to people, he isn't understood, and people confuse his Gaelic for Chinese. This is because the vast majority of people in Ireland speak English. However, Ming thinks no one understands him because his Irish isn't very good. There's a couple of instances of mild racism towards Ming after he arrives in Ireland, but I think this was done as a commentary on the people and their relationship with the Irish language. Perhaps they're nothing more than just a couple of attempts at humour that have kind of aged poorly over time. Eventually Ming runs into a Gaeilgeoir played by Frank Kelly. A Gaeilgeoir is someone who speaks Irish, so naturally the two of them understand each other perfectly. Frank Kelly's character tells Ming about the Gaeltachts, which are areas in Ireland in which the only language spoken is Irish. Ming gets a job as a bartender at Gaeltacht and seems to have finally found happiness. Overall, I found this film to be quite funny and uplifting. There are great moments of levity contrasting with Ming's emotional journey. He begins disgruntled and unfulfilled. On a whim, he decides to make a drastic change to his life. The plan doesn't go exactly as he thought it would and he becomes lost again. However, Ming eventually finds his way. It's a very well structured narrative with highs and lows, but ultimately a happy ending. The main character has a proper arc and undergoes growth and changes over the course of the film. The visuals in this film were particularly well done. The colour correction and or lighting were done in a heavy editorial way to make the China look contrast with the Ireland look. China is all done in greens and yellows, while Ireland has more of a blue tint to it at first. In both cities, Ming stands out as a lonely figure. His red jacket makes him prominent in the frame, while all the other people look faded into the background with more muted colours. When Ming arrives at the Gaeltacht, the colour correction is more natural looking, and we have some wonderful landscape shots that have both blue and green. This is a good visual way of showing us that Ming has finally found his home. There's a great piece of visual narrative where Ming can't figure out how to use a knife and fork, so instead he flips them around and uses them like chopsticks. This shows the character's ingenuity and ability to adapt, which foreshadows how the plot turns out. The score fits nicely with the story of the film. When Ming is in distress at the beginning, there are these strange otherworldly synths that make life seem tedious and dull. When he starts learning about Ireland, the synths become more upbeat and melodic, signifying that Ming is becoming happier. The music becomes more westernised as Ming arrives in Ireland to a low-tempoed electric guitar. Once Ming goes to the Gaeltacht, traditional Irish music is played. The performances from Daniel Wu and Frank Kelly were both great in this film. It genuinely seemed like Ming was struggling with the pronunciation of Irish at first. He also portrayed the sadness and isolation of the character very well. Frank Kelly played a kindly old man quite well too. He came across very friendly and welcoming. Frank Kelly was in the beloved comedy series Father Ted. In that series he's very crass and angry all the time, so he displayed a good amount of range being able to play this role. Some of the minor characters like the Australian and the bartender were well acted too. They were a little bit exaggerated, but I found them funny. Overall, Ming as Ainm was a very well made film and I would highly recommend watching it. The visuals are done to enhance the tone of the scenes, the script is very well written with good structure, the performances are great, and the ending is very happy and uplifting. This is by far one of the best Irish short films I've ever seen. If you haven't seen it before, I'll put a link of it down in the description if you want to watch it. The only criticism I have with this film is that the credits are in Irish and it's hard to tell who did what. When a large focus of your film is about how nobody in Ireland speaks Irish, maybe that should factor into the decision of what language the credits are going to be in. That's only a minor gripe though, that's not a massive problem I have with the movie. Thanks for watching episode 3 of RÍview. Next week I'll be looking at 6 Shooter starring Brendan Gleeson, which was suggested to me by Aidan O'Sullivan.